Go global. Go CNBC. This is Network 18. And you are watching CNBC TV 18.
Hello and welcome to the CNBC TV 18 special, New Bank Licenses, Will It Usher in a New Era? The Reserve Bank of India's discussion paper on whom to issue new bank licenses clearly is a breath of fresh air. If even some of those proposals are implemented, it could mean a quantum leap in the numbers of people and the kind of people who could be included in running banks in India. But how much of these proposals are feasible and what should be the options the Reserve Bank should take? To discuss these issues, I have with me a person who is perhaps best placed to comment and advise on these matters. Deepak Parekh, Chairman HDFC, and more importantly, the man who availed of a license in the first round when the Reserve Bank offered them and made an outstanding success of it. Mr. Parekh, thank you very much for joining us today. Well, first and foremost, the Reserve Bank does not say why it has asked for, fresh licenses. It merely says that the Finance Minister said it in the budget. Do you think there is a need at all for new licenses?
We have a bank, so we don't need a new banking license policy.
Mr. Parekh, I'm calling you for your expertise, not because you need the license.
No, I think many years have gone by where we have no new bank set up. So it's always a breath of fresh air to have new people come in and sector. You know, the unbanked areas in India are so large. There's a huge amount of people who have no access to banks in rural India. And we need some thrust in the rural areas.
The reason why I asked you is that will mean a whole lot of competition. Another 15 banks backed by probably Tatas, Birlas and whoever. It's huge competition for you. So,
no, I think the way the banking sector has opened up in the past, and if you can draw a judgment from it, I don't think Reserve Bank is going to give 15 licenses at day one. They will probably give more, but on an annual basis, a couple for 2 years or 3 years. So I don't think more than 5 or 6 licenses will be given over a 3-year period. So it's not going to disrupt or impact or affect the existing banking operations of banks that are operating. You see, the discussion paper is very comprehensive. It's extremely comprehensive, but please remember it's only a discussion paper. It is not a guideline of the Reserve Bank. The guidelines have not yet come out. It's a paper where they're asking comments from interested parties, from non-interested parties, from economists, from anyone. And then they will make up their mind what should be the real guidelines or rules under which new licenses will be given. And as you say, the way it begins, it looks very clearly that Reserve Bank is not keen to have new banks at this stage, but they were asked because the Finance Minister has made his comment in the budget that the discussion paper is asked.
Okay, let me take the issues that they've put out. First, the startup capital, how much should it be? You know, when y'all started, 94, 95, they asked y'all to bring 300 crore. And now they say that should I begin at 300, 500 crore or should I begin at a high 1,000 crore? Yes, even 1,000 crore high, even if you give the inflation standards from that 300 crore, we should be starting higher,
isn't it? When we
got
the license, it was 100 crores. It was in the 90s.
Yeah, 2004 I think.
2004, yeah, but it was 100 crores mandatory. We came up with 200 crores. We started the bank with 200 crores. But I think in today's environment, minimum 500 crores is absolutely necessary. And going up to 1,000 crores in a short period of time, in 4 to 5 years, as the bank grows. So I think 500 is minimum. I would have preferred the minimum to be 1,000. But the danger is the higher the capital you put, then the entry point becomes fewer and fewer. Very few people will be able to bring that kind of money. So I think considering that, it's a good via media that Reserve Bank in the discussion paper has come out with that a minimum 500 crores going up to 1,000 over a period.
And they're leaving it as an option. Should we start at 500? Should we start at 1,000? Well, the other thing they dwell on, the next issue, is how much should the promoter be allowed to hold? Now, the 2 or 3 options they give is allowed to retain the present one, start at 40, bring it down to 10. The other one is don't bring it down to 10, even a maximum of 20 can be retained by the promoter. And the third one is just start at 10, for the simple reason that some of the license they gave, the promoters never brought it down to 10. And, you know, the option of just cancelling a license doesn't work because too many interests are involved. So where would you stand on that? Would you say 10 is a good idea?
I think 40 should be there. There must be some financial stake of the party that is promoting a bank that is getting a new license. So initially 40% must be made mandatory. And then friends and families and others, they said 10% can be brought by individuals, individual companies or entities. So I think to start with 40% is minimum. Even we were given 40%. But because we had NatWest as a partner, they reduced our stake to 25 and NatWest took 15%. So when we started 15 years ago, the same 40% was there. But there was no condition at that time that we had to bring it down. That came subsequently.
Yeah, no, the discomfort perhaps with an entity like HDFC doesn't arise because HDFC itself is widely held. But the problem with this, 40% is, how do you ensure that they bring it down to 10 when it is big? And when you have that kind of a control in the bank, the chances of intra-group lending and the other kind of favoritism is there. And most importantly, under the current law, on the board you can have only 10%. You're capped. So what you're doing is you're doing devious ways in phony names, and the entire system is, hand in glove with that, actually legitimizing what is patently unfair.
See, the issue really is the desirability of business and industrial houses to apply for licenses. Now, if you look at the other spectrum, other end of the spectrum, our experience in the past has not been good when we have given individuals and professional licenses. So we have to have a change in our mindset, because not one, not two, but 3 or 4 times we have given in the past to professionals, to individuals, where the banks have collapsed or the promoter has sold it and made a huge amount of money in a short period of time, or run the bank to the ground and then sold it for a package. So, our experience has not been good in the past for giving it to individuals and professionals. So I guess the Reserve Bank is trying to see that if an NBFC is there, or if a diversified group is there, industrial group, there's no harm of trying out a new license seeker.
Okay. No, that point, of course, is being made that, if it's a big and a prominent group, they come with reputation risks. So they
but if you see what's happening elsewhere in the world, Brazil allows industrial groups. US does not allow. Yes. Canada allows industrial groups, but Canada has a holding on amount of share capital. As the share capital increases, the promoter holding comes down, the industrial company. So there are various models. We have to see one which meets our requirements.
But then let me come to the promoters being big corporate houses, because any which way you look at it, that is the heavyweight in this discussion paper. Should we allow big corporate houses to come in? Now, do you think the safeguards they suggest will be good enough? For instance, they say very strict control on intra-group lending, ring-fencing the banking entity so that it's almost watertight with other entities. Does this work in India, sir? I mean, we know even when you say shareholders should have 10%.
It's very difficult to work in India because there are various ways and means. And the operators are smarter than the regulators. And it takes a long time for any regulator to find out, as we've seen in other sectors of the financial sector, what was happening in mis-selling or commissions and all. It took a long time for the regulators to come down heavily. A simple way of doing this is lending money to suppliers. If you lend money to suppliers, then they will supply to your company for any amount at any price. So, malpractices will happen. So, somewhere it is said that when you say a fit and proper rule, the fit and proper rule should apply not only to the new license owner, but also to Reserve Bank of India. There's a supervision and the inspection should be really fit and proper. So the level of responsibility that RBI will have to take on itself by giving a license to an industrial group will be much more than today, because they'll have to ensure that these devious methods or these other avenues are not used by the new licenses to further their own group or to further their own objective.
Which is why I came to that question of should it be 10%? If you have 2 or 3 big heavyweights with 10% each or 20% each, perhaps there will be a check and balance. So do you suspect that the Reserve Bank, having had a slightly unhappy experience with not being able to get promoters down, and this exact fear that the regulators may be a step or will be a step behind in gauging the intermeshing? And
my view on this is that in insurance there are a few examples where 2-3 industrial groups have joined together and contributed 74%. It's not what they want to split up in a short period of time. So, who will call the shot with four industrial groups putting 10% each? It doesn't work today. So, you can have investors, but someone must have his neck on the block. What if he grows the bank and then there's a run on the bank? He will say, I've got 10%. I'm not responsible. So there must be some kind of promoter stake or something which is, he's responsible for, for taking money from the public. So that trust, that faith, that responsibility, that accountability must be there. And if you have 40%, you have that responsibility. You grow the bank to a certain level, let outside shareholders come, let foreign institutions come in as shareholders, let the confidence of the public be there on putting deposits with that bank, then gradually you can bring that holding down, because then it's it's a diversified shareholding and it's well run, and that over a period it can be well run, so there's more confidence.
Accountability to institutional shareholders has already been proven. Precisely because of the red flags you're raising, that there can be this kind of malpractices. Do you think the central bank is sufficiently empowered? For instance, the Reserve Bank does not have the power to supersede a board. So every time a bank collapses, they run around for a white night. GTB, they had to run around to OBC. They had to run around. Do you think first the central bank needs to be empowered? In some countries, like in Canada that you were saying, every time one shareholder gets more than 1%, it goes through a central bank approval. So do you think these things have to be done before?
Empowerment must be there. If the company law board has the empowerment, as they superseded the Satyam board, RBI should have that power. So far, fortunately, the financial system is in good stead in India, and whenever a bank has got into trouble, RBI has found a willing taker or pressurized someone to take it, gentle pressure to take it, and the system has survived very well. And so we don't have any bad experiences. Even the Bank of Rajasthan, ICICI took it, the Centurion Bank, we were able to take it, Ramesh Geli's bank, again it got acquired. So, even public sector, weak public sector banks were taken over by stronger public sector banks. So far it's worked beautifully. And to the credit of Reserve Bank, that they've managed to run it so well. There's never been any crisis, even if the bank has gone under or the bank is in difficulty. But I guess the empowerment must be there with the Reserve Bank to take some drastic steps if something goes wrong.
Actually, very impressive argument, sir, but the phrase I liked most is gentle pressure from the central bank. One day I must get the gossip from you on where did they apply this pressure and in which cases.
Well, Mr. Parekh, we need to take a break at this juncture, but don't go away. There are plenty of other issues we want to discuss with Mr. Parekh about that discussion paper. Stay right there, we'll be back.
5 continents, 75 countries, 1 brand of steam pipes. Zenith Steam Pipes by Zenith Bidla India Limited, a flagship company of the Rs 3,000 crore Yash Bidla Group. As the largest exporter to the US and to 75 countries, Zenith Bidla has bagged Best Export Performance Awards for several years. 2010 is a landmark year as the company celebrates 50 years of manufacturing and exporting steam pipes, electrical resistance welded pipes and spiral weld pipes. Crossing the mark of 50 years, the company decides to reward its shareholders with a remarkable 5-to-1 bonus and 5th consecutive dividend of 20%. Zenith Bidla, the global supplier of steel pipes, now maneuvers to be the global leader with a new investment of Rs 300 crore for expansion. Zenith Bidla Steel Pipes, a global brand, a synonym for trust rooted in quality. Zenith Bidla India, a part of the Yash Bidla Group.
Mint and Siemens present the India Agenda, a 4-part series that will seek answers to the toughest questions facing India. Watch industry leaders and decision makers come together to debate on the topic Global Competitiveness, Building the India Advantage. Log on to livemint.com/India Agenda to join our experts in setting the healthcare agenda for India. Brought to you by Mint and Siemens.
In 2009, India witnessed its first mass cycling event, the BSA Hercules India Cyclothon, an event that travelled to Mumbai and became even bigger. And now, it's all set to arrive in Delhi. Gear up for the BSA Hercules India Cyclothon Delhi 2010. Register today.
economic